Alongside the release of version 2.0 and the immense amount of content that has dropped, both Yuan and Ju Fufu are the new featured characters available to pick up this update. Of course, I expect for most players to be a bit more focused on our latest Void Hunter level DPS and are perhaps still trying to pick her up. But considering the incredible value Ju Fufu does offer as a stun character, it goes without saying there would be those intending to also pick her up within the second phase. Whether it's for her universal stun value or perhaps since she is going to be an incredible partner for Yuan. So given we do have access to Ju Fufu's kit and are able to test her out in advance, I'll simply be breaking down Ju Fufu's kit, going over some team synergies you may want to consider building or preparing, viable W engines, disk drive sets that can be utilized. Then to wrap it up, I'll be going over Ju Fufu's overall value and whether or not you should summon. As always, if you are interested in more ZenlessZoneZero content, would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Though just before we dive right in, with the release of version 2.0 which features quite a few incredible characters, if you are short on polychromes to summon for them, then you'll definitely want to check out this sponsor. Lootbar is a reliable and secure top-up platform that allows you to pick up game currency for an even lower price than in-game. Such as with ZenlessZoneZero, you are able to pick up selected items with up to 23% off. So if you are thinking about picking up some polychromes or even simply just renewing your Internet membership, then you may as well pick it up using Lootbar to save some money. All you need to do is head to the website and click on whichever pack you would like to pick up, then fill out your game account UID and server region, choose your preferred payment method, and in a couple of minutes you will receive your polychromes. Also, as usual, the double top-up bonus will be provided even when going through Lootbar, so you aren't missing out. Lastly, as of now, new users are eligible for a 10% off coupon along with a bunch of other coupons for an extra discount. So again, if you are looking for a quick and safer way to pick up discounted game currency than other websites, be sure to check out Lootbar through the link in the description. Now, Ju Fufu, as most of us know, is our newest fire stun character. But the key difference that sets her aside from our other limited fire stun character being lighter would be the immense amount of universal value she provides. That, alongside the fact that she is capable of dealing damage and daze to enemies off-field whilst also dealing considerable damage herself, Ju Fufu is quite the stacked stun character that would hold great value for many players. Similar to other limited stun characters, Ju Fufu has a gauge mechanic, which can be filled with up to a max of 200 might through various abilities, and once reaching at least 100 points of might, Ju Fufu will then gain access to multiple abilities that deal considerable damage and daze to enemies. As for the specific abilities that can provide points of might, if WuWa is on the field and isn't actively being used by Ju Fufu, he will then in fact deal attacks automatically, and with each attack providing 20 points of might. Alongside that, the dash attack Mountain King's game provides 25 points of might in exchange for 1 point of momentum. The EX special attack provides 80 points of might alongside 3 points of momentum, and lastly, with the ultimate, Ju Fufu will gain 100 points of might and 6 points of momentum. Now, on the note of Ju Fufu gaining points of momentum through certain abilities, unlike other limited stun characters that would just be focused on acquiring points for their gauge mechanic, Ju Fufu on the other hand will need to focus on gaining and consuming 2 different types of points, being might and momentum. Whilst might will be stored in Ju Fufu's gauge, momentum points will just be below the energy bar right beside the icon, with there being a max of 15 momentum points that can be held. Although with momentum points, they will only be consumed whilst Ju Fufu is within the high speed spinning state, which is pretty much when Ju Fufu holds down the basic attack following a dash attack to then activate the Mountain King's game ability, otherwise known as when Ju Fufu is spinning like a Beyblade whilst on fire and attacking enemies. So that would essentially be most of the groundwork regarding Ju Fufu's might and momentum mechanics, which are significant aspects of her kit since they will again provide access to Ju Fufu's more valuable abilities. Now, speaking of Ju Fufu's abilities themselves, Ju Fufu's basic attacks are pretty simple but will share a similar feature to Lighter and Qingyi with her final basic attack. given Ju Fufu can also repeatedly attack the enemy and maintain a combo whilst continuously activating the basic attack during the third hit. Alongside that, Ju Fufu's anti-interrupt level is increased and will gain a 40% damage reduction, which would be pretty useful as it allows for Ju Fufu to continue the basic attack combo quite easily, and especially since she will deal a large amount of days through the final basic attack. The dash attack Mountain King's game, as mentioned, will also be quite an important ability within Ju Fufu's kit, since not only will Ju Fufu be able to gain points of might in exchange for a point of momentum, but also due to when Ju Fufu has above 100 points of might whilst the ability is active, 100 points of might will then be consumed to trigger Ju Fufu's chain attack without the need of stunning an enemy. So considering the solid amount of days and damage Ju Fufu would be able to deal through the chain attack, it would then certainly make the dash attack Mountain King's game quite the valuable ability. Following on from that with Ju Fufu's special attack, the standard special attack as usual wouldn't be capable of much aside from dealing a small amount of damage whilst Ju Fufu spins towards the enemy. On the other hand, with the EX special attack, Ju Fufu swings down Huey to deal a powerful strike inflicting quite a bit of damage, and as mentioned, the ability will provide 3 points of momentum and 80 points of might on activation. Then as for the chain attack and ultimate, Ju Fufu will have a simple yet powerful ultimate as it does deal quite a lot of days and damage, alongside also providing 100 points of might and 6 points of momentum as mentioned earlier. With the chain attack in specific, Ju Fufu will in fact have 2 different chain attacks and each would be activated depending on the number of points of might that are held. As mentioned, when Ju Fufu is holding at least 100 points of might, the chain attack suppressing Tiger Cauldron will be activated. Otherwise, the chain attack Tiger Cauldron Collapse will be activated instead. Now the difference between the two would be that the standard chain attack will simply just deal a considerable amount of days and damage, whereas the enhanced chain attack also allows Huey to attack enemies, and if Ju Fufu isn't on field, then the fiery spin ability is activated after the skill ends. However, it doesn't stop there since the enhanced chain attack is in fact linked to Ju Fufu's core passive, and so alongside dealing damage, all squad members will receive the Tiger's Roar effect, which provides a base crit damage increase of 20%, but depending on Ju Fufu's attack, the crit damage bonus can reach up to a max of 50%. In addition, chain attack and ultimate damage are increased up to a max of 40%, allowing certain DPS characters to really gain a lot of value as they would be able to deal significantly more damage. Now the second core passive will be activated by either attackers or rupture characters and has quite a unique effect, since it increases the maximum decibels for all characters by 1000, and when an attacker or rupture character activates an ultimate, they will gain an additional 300 decibels towards the ultimate. So essentially, allies will be able to store the decibels for more decisive moments and can activate the ultimates a lot sooner than usual. So with that, Ju Fufu is quite the valuable stun character that not only deals great damage and days whilst also off field, but can provide incredible universal value to majority of team compositions, just as long as it does consist of either an attacker or rupture character. Now speaking of team compositions, Ju Fufu will certainly have amazing team versatility as the buffs she provides are extremely useful for essentially most characters. Although with the second core passive having a requirement of there being either an attacker or rupture character within the composition, it then means that Ju Fufu's best team composition will most likely be alongside Yi Zhuan and a support such as either AstraYao or Pan Yinhu. The fact that Ju Fufu provides a crit damage bonus, ultimate damage bonus, and chain attack damage bonus for Yi Zhuan will be massive, since not only does Yi Zhuan have 2 different ultimates, but also since those bonuses will be quite effective for Yi Zhuan despite being a rupture character that scales off HP. In addition, Yi Zhuan being a character that deals quite a significant amount of damage through her ultimate would then certainly benefit from the additional decibels being provided, given it will lead to quite the increase in Yi Zhuan's DPS overall. Then with the fact that Panyan Hu can increase the damage dealt against enemies by 20% with his core passive, whilst Astra also allowing for the whole squad to deal additional damage and crit damage alongside the active character receiving a 1200 attack bonus, they would then both be great supports and can allow for Yi Zhuan and Ju Fufu to deal much more damage. Although it's also worth mentioning that Astra's ability to enable 2 chain attacks to be activated following her ultimate, paired with the chain attack damage increase from Ju Fufu's core passive, will be pretty synergistic and would lead to quite the increase in DPS. Now aside from that composition in specific, and as for some attacker focused compositions, characters such as Evelyn, Soldier Anby, Hugo and Ellen would synergize quite well with Ju Fufu, considering each of them would gain a lot of value from the buffs provided, but more specifically since they all do take up quite a bit of field time in order to complete their combos. So with Ju Fufu being able to deal damage and daze to enemies whilst off field, it would allow her to synergize nicely with attackers that will require more field time than others. With that said, it's fair to say that Evelyn will gain the most value from Ju Fufu's buffs and would synergize with her more than other attackers, given she can activate additional chain attacks without needing to stun an enemy through obtaining 3 burning tether points. That alongside the fact that she does deal immense damage through her chain attacks, Ju Fufu's 40% chain attack and ultimate damage paired with the 50% crit damage increase will then certainly be amazing for Evelyn's DPS. So with that, it's clear to see that Ju Fufu is going to be quite a versatile stun character, allowing for players to not really find it difficult to build multiple compositions. Moving on to some viable W engines for Ju Fufu. Before anything, it goes without saying that the signature W engine will be the most valuable option, and especially since Ju Fufu does require a lot of attack. In specific, Ju Fufu will require 3400 attack in order to provide the max crit damage bonus to allies, which means there is a good chance that her W engine will have an attack percent main stat to make that requirement a bit more comfortable to achieve. So also considering the fact there isn't a single stun W engine that provides an attack percent main stat aside from a B rank W engine, it does mean the signature W engine will hold a lot of value for Ju Fufu with the main stats alone. Although, with that being said, it's not like it won't be possible to achieve 3400 attack, since all we need to do is equip more attack main stat disk drives, which would allow you to then utilize numerous alternatives if you aren't picking up the signature W engine. So alternative S-rank W engines such as the IceJ Teapot, Blazing Laurel and the Restrained would be quite solid to utilize, given each of them essentially revolve around the user dealing numerous basic attacks to activate the passive. So with Ju Fufu being able to continuously deal basic attacks after the 3rd hit, all 3 W engines will then be viable since the passives will be quite easy to activate. Although I'd have to mention that the IceJ Teapot and the Restrained are a bit more universal, as the passives can be useful for any composition, whereas the Blazing Laurel will only be fully utilized once Ju Fufu is alongside an ice or fire DPS. Now alongside those options, and to capitalize on Ju Fufu's ability to perform off-field, the Hellfire Gears will be a great option since it does provide energy regen once the user is off-field, alongside increasing the user's impact when activating the EX special skill. So with characters that especially require a lot of field time such as Yi Zhuan, the Hellfire Gears may then perhaps be the best alternative for Ju Fufu. Now as for A-rank W engines, the best option to go with would be the Steam Oven, and considering it can be crafted to max refinement, it will be the only A-rank I would recommend due to it really just being the only solid and well-rounded A-rank stun W engine. So all in all, Ju Fufu is able to utilize many different W engines as alternatives, which means there's all the more reason to skip the signature if you do have an alternative to utilize, or perhaps if you intend to pick up a stun W engine using the free S-rank selector. Now lastly, as for the disk drive sets Ju Fufu will be able to utilize, with the release of version 2.0, a few new disk drive sets have been introduced, and one of them is the King of the Summit, Now this set in particular moving forward is going to be the best disk drive set for stun characters, given the 4-piece effect essentially provides a 15% crit damage bonus to all allies. But if the user has at least 50% crit rate, the crit damage bonus provided will be increased by an additional 15%, and this is provided when a stun character uses an EX special attack or chain attack. So considering Ju Fufu can activate chain attacks outside of stunning enemies, alongside being able to trigger chain attacks quite often anyway since she does inflict quite a bit of daze, it means the squad will have a 30% crit damage bonus for majority of the battle as it does last for 15 seconds. So without a doubt, the King of the Summit will be the best 4-piece disk drive set to utilize for Ju Fufu. So then, as for the 2-piece set to utilize alongside it, there will in fact be a few options depending on your Ju Fufu's build to choose from. Since if you don't pick up the signature W engine and would need a bit of help in reaching 3400 attack, the Hormone Punk and Astral Voice both providing a 10% attack bonus will then be quite handy. Although if you don't need the extra assistance from the disk drive set to provide enough attack, there would be options such as the Shockstar Disco set to increase the impact dealt to enemies, or the Woodpecker Electro set to ensure you do reach the 50% crit rate requirement from the King of Summit 4-piece set, or even the Swing Jazz set to provide additional energy regen to then activate the EX special skill more often, which would lead to the crit damage bonus from the King of Summit set being provided to allies much more consistently. So again, there will be quite a few options for the 2-piece set, and it would really just come down to your build for Ju Fufu. Now finishing this off with the disk drive stats to prioritize, the 4th disk drive ideally wants crit rate for the King of Summit set crit rate requirement. The 5th disk drive would want fire damage bonus, and the final disk drive would be good with impact. However, for those last 2 main stats in specific, it will be important to prioritize attack instead if you aren't able to reach the 3400 attack requirement. Lastly, as for the substats, crit rate, attack percent, and flat attack will be priority until they reach the 50% crit rate requirement and the 3400 attack requirement. Then the final stat to prioritize would be none other than crit damage. Overall, as for a stun character that is releasing alongside version 2.0 and the anniversary of Zenless, Ju Fufu has definitely not disappointed as she is quite a stacked character and does provide incredible value to numerous team compositions. Of course, it's a bit weird accepting the fact that she's actually a senior yet looks like a child, but aside from that, Ju Fufu is going to be a top tier stun agent for many players to pick up. Either you do require a stun character for your account since you are lacking them, or perhaps you are looking to build arguably Yijuan's strongest team composition. Those would be a couple of reasons for Ju Fufu to be a great stun character to summon for. However, if you do already have enough stun characters and specifically ones that provide universal value such as Trigger and Qingyi, there would of course be less of a reason to pull for Ju Fufu. Although, even if you do have those stun characters already on your account, Ju Fufu will certainly provide a lot more value for specific characters such as Evelyn and Yijuan, allowing her to still be a great option to pick up if you do really like her design or playstyle. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more ZenlessZoneZero content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on whether you are going to be pulling for Ju Fufu, and if so, which team composition will you be exactly running her on? And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.